Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you again for subscribing. If you haven't already done that, I just want to take a minute here to say thank you for the people that already have done that. It's been like 3 or 4 days and I've already got 50 subscribers. That's great. I mean, that's not like a lot of people, but hey, that's good for me. That's great for me. I'm very grateful for each and every one of you. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. And thank you for the comments, and thank you for taking the time to just have a chat with me. That's something I value. I really do. So I appreciate the dialogue, and keep it up by all means. And again, if you have prayer needs, prayer requests, you go ahead and ask me and I will be happy to pray for you. But anyway, today I want to talk about something that has gotten a lot of attention recently, and it's something I'm taking a strange amount of joy in, and I got to be honest about it, that I rather enjoy watching liberals and leftists lose their jobs because of the hateful things they've been saying about Charlie Kirk and his family. And I know there's a little bit of sick humor involved in that, and watching people lose their livelihood as a result of their horrible behavior online. But hey, just because you have freedom of speech does not mean you have freedom from consequences. Freedom of speech really doesn't apply to private citizens. It doesn't apply to private businesses. It only applies to government oppression. You have the right to freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of expression. But that only applies to how the government can censor that. It doesn't apply to private citizens. It doesn't apply to private businesses. It doesn't apply to how an employer or a group of employees relates to you in the workplace. If you're an insufferable jerk in the workplace because you're utilizing your freedom of speech, do not be surprised when people want to get rid of you and now have actual reason to do so. And speaking hateful rhetoric, things that are just mean and mean-spirited, and promote hate speech and violence towards anyone, especially, someone who's already died as a result of the actual hate speech that was spoken towards them. Don't be surprised if you lose your job. I mean, there's probably about over 1,000 people now that have lost their jobs in terms of just the horrible things they've said about Charlie Kirk, and especially his surviving wife and 2 children. Like, it's bad enough that they're saying, they wish horrible things on Charlie Kirk, but to say that they want his family to die as well, that's just evil and wicked. And to know that these people are losing their jobs, especially educators that have the responsibility of educating our youth and our children and our young adults, man, I'm so happy to see that they're losing their jobs as a result of that too. Because when you're in a position of leadership, especially like an educator, you have a lot of influence and authority over young people. And that's been part of the problem, is that these educators going into these professions took these professions specifically so that they could indoctrinate and teach the youth about things that we would normally not want be taught. They promote hate speech, they promote violence, they promote they promote very negative things, to say the least, and they like to mask it as inclusion or diversity. It's not diversity or inclusion at all. It's actually exclusion. They're excluding anybody who doesn't submit to their ideology. And Charlie Kirk was a great example of someone who did not submit to their ideology and defended against it like a pro. He was the GOAT. He was the greatest of all time in terms of being a debater, a conservative, an activist. And I think that's part of the reason that the left hated him so much, is because he was so good at defending and debating his stance that the people on the left really couldn't argue with him. And that was the point. I think that's why he was killed, because he was just so good at his job. He was so good at his skill. And aside from the fact that he was a Christian, he loved God, he loved Jesus. He had no shame in expressing that faith every single day. Anytime he did a video, at least once he would mention his faith in Jesus Christ. And at least once he would mention how important it was to cultivate a relationship with Jesus Christ, our Savior. And I love the fact that he continued to do that up until the moment he was killed. I mean, for someone to be killed for their faith, that makes them a martyr. For someone to be killed for their freedom of speech, I mean, that just it makes them a legend, really. And it's crazy how these liberals and leftists are kind of doubling down on their hate. Even many of them who've already lost their jobs, who've now have to rely on unemployment and other means of income are now doubling down on their hate for not only Trump but Charlie Kirk. A guy named Aaron Sharp, who was part of a barbecue company, recently got kicked out of his own business because of the hateful things that he said about Charlie Kirk. And then when he was when people were pushing back against that and saying that it's a terrible thing to say, he said, "Oh, I know what kind of person I am. I don't care what you think. I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and I'm going to say it no matter what." And the other owners of the company, of that barbecue, actually ended up kicking him out of the business entirely. And even now, he's still doubling down. I mean, think of all the people, like the educators, like I said before, but also many students. Like there was a young woman from Texas Tech, like 18 years old, who was seen on video going around and laughing about Charlie Kirk on campus and shoving her camera in people's face and insulting people, calling anyone who disagreed with her a white supremacist, despite the fact that there were black people present. It's crazy. And she not only was arrested, but she was also expelled from Texas Tech as a result, and given a $200 fine. But it's crazy, like how many people don't see the hypocrisy in their actions and their hate towards people, and the fact that they're losing their jobs. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. Excuse my language. I'm enjoying the heck out of it because credit where credit is due. Like I said, consequences. There are rules, but there's consequences. Just like John Wick, rules, consequences. Anyway, you don't have the freedom to perpetuate your hate and violence towards people. And just because you do have freedom of speech does not mean you get to hate people as a result. I mean, you can hate people, that's your business. But you can't use your platform in a job or even your platform online to perpetuate violence, to perpetuate hate against anybody. And that's why these people are getting fired. And so many of them have no idea why they can't just say these horrible things and get away with it. That's not how this works. I think a lot of people have misguided views about what freedom of speech is and how it applies to them. And I think that's why so many of these people are surprised and gobsmacked about the fact that they were let go for speaking their opinion. It's like, you can speak your opinion, but there are consequences to that. And it's really nice to see the comeuppance of that. I want to address also that Tyler Robinson, a lot of people are suggesting that because he was raised in a MAGA/Republican family, conservative family, that, he must be conservative. No, actually, that's farthest from the truth. Just because you were raised in a conservative family does not mean by default that you're going to be a conservative. My brother he was raised in a conservative family as well, like I was. But I actually went conservative. He went the opposite direction. He went liberal. And that just goes to show that just because you're raised in a specific ideology doesn't mean you're going to adopt that ideology later in life. And Tyler Robinson's a great example of that. He was raised in a conservative family, but he went completely the opposite direction. A lot of his family members and neighbors suggested that because he was raised in that environment is why he had such hate for Christians and conservatives. And many news outlets are going to suggest that he was a MAGA and a Republican, but that's just simply not the truth. He was a far leftist. His Discord records suggest that. His own ideology, his journals reflect that. His relationship with a transgender boyfriend reflects that. I think it's funny that Tyler is not cooperating with police, but his transgender boyfriend is. I think that's funny. And that's part of how they got all this information on his Discord is because his transgender boyfriend is being cooperative and Tyler is not. And I think it's amusing that the left is so hell-bent on trying to get people to think that, he wasn't a leftist. He was MAGA. It's like, no, he really was a leftist to the bone. And not only his actions prove that, but his ideology, his own records, Discord records, his journaling, all that stuff, it all says and points to the fact that he was a leftist and he hated Christians and conservatives. So, I don't know. I think it's funny and amusing that so many people are losing their jobs, especially educators over this. But it even goes further. It actually goes into the church. Check this out. I think it's, I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but it's a church in San Diego that has a youth pastor, a female youth pastor that was recently seen on video celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. and later found out that this particular church, they support and affirm LGBTQ ideology. They don't follow the whole Bible. They pick and choose what they want to believe and just ignore the rest. And if you're going to be a Christian in this day and age, in any day and age, but if you're going to be a Christian, you cannot you cannot pick and choose what you want to accept. You have to accept all of it or none of it. That's not how Christianity works. And so I emailed them today asking them why they pander to leftist ideology, and why they believe they can pick and choose when it comes to believing what they want to believe about the Bible and ignoring the rest. I can point out 2 places in Deuteronomy and a couple places in Romans that say that it's an abomination for a man to lay with a man and a woman to lay with a woman. Homosexual relationships are abomination according to the Bible. And this church in San Diego denies that. They affirm these relationships, and they even put people of these relationships in places of leadership like youth pastorship and pastoralship. And they have no problem with the fact that their leaders are now mocking the death of Charlie Kirk. And it's absolutely disgusting. One of these days they're going to have to face Jesus with the question of Matthew 7:22 and 23, where it says, "In the last days many will say that, did we not prophesy in your name? Did we not cast demons out in your name? And did we not do many great works in the name?" And the Lord will respond with, "Depart from me, I never knew you, sons and daughters of iniquity." Meaning that just because you carry the title of Christianity does not mean you are going to be accepted into heaven. You have to live that lifestyle. You have to accept it. You have to embrace it. It has to become part of you. And picking and choosing the Bible is not a way to do that. And if I think there's going to be a lot of Christians who get left behind in the tribulation, wondering why they weren't caught up with everybody else in heaven, is because they were the people talked about in Matthew 7:22 and 23, not realizing that it's not enough to simply believe. You have to work towards that. Faith without works is dead. And I'm not saying you have to work, because without grace, you really only need grace to really believe in Christ. But when you believe in Christ and we really have a relationship with Christ, then the works come as a result of that. So it's a proof that if you don't have any works in your life towards Christ, then your faith is dead as a result. And I think that a lot of people are going to be shocked at the reality of being left behind, wondering why they were left behind, and why Christ will say that to them in the day of judgment. And honestly, I hope that doesn't happen to me. I like to think that it won't, but I really don't know. And I try not to judge other people. Matthew 7:1 says, "Judge not, lest you shall be judged. By the staff and measure you judge others, you will also be judged." So I don't want to condemn anyone to hell or anything like that, but I will say that many people, many Christians that carry that title will be surprised by the time Judgment Day comes around that they're not included in heaven. We all know that Charlie Kirk is definitely included in heaven. Anyone who does get to heaven will be happy to see him there. I certainly will be when I get there, if I get there. But it's just absolutely disgusting, the apostasy. Like, even churches that are supposedly worshiping Jesus Christ are not worshiping the same Jesus Christ. No offense to the Mormon Church, but I have a few beefs with the Mormon Church. Not because they're a bad organization, but because I believe they follow a false Jesus Christ. It says in John 16:7 that when Christ ascended, the next time that he came to us, we would be taking unto him. Sorry, that's John 14:3, but John 16:7 says that he ascended in Israel, and that the very next time he came to us would be, the coming of the second Christ. But Mormons believe that Christ ascended in Israel and then descended in the New World, and that contradicts what he said in John 16:7. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not here to bag on anybody of the LDS. I just think it's interesting that there's a lot of apostasy, a lot of strange directions, and a lot of people saying they worship Jesus Christ when, the facts point to something else. And I think this church in San Diego is a great example. They affirm LGBTQ lifestyle. They allow their youth pastor to criticize and insult the death of Charlie Kirk. And I think that a lot of people, a lot of churches are going to be surprised in the day of judgment that they're not included in salvation. I mean, they'll be left behind for the tribulation where they have an opportunity to make that right. But when it comes to rapture, they may not be included. And then honestly, it kind of breaks my heart for a lot of people because, hey, it could be me, it could be you, it could be any one of us if we're not careful. But it's by grace that we're saved and faith. And as long as we try to maintain that, we try to love our neighbor as we love ourselves, I think Christ will be able to redeem that, because I'm a sinner. If you guys only knew how bad of a sinner I was, you wouldn't want to talk to me. The reality is I sin every single day. But I have a great faith in Jesus Christ, and without Christ, I'm nothing without Christ. And that's why I truly believe in him. That's why I want to spend the rest of my days serving him. But you know what, really, the thing that disappoints me the most about this whole channel situation of starting this channel is that someone had to die. Someone like Charlie Kirk had to die to wake us up, to wake us patriots and crusaders up. It's a sad thing that a martyr had to happen for us to wake up and to carry on his banner. But hey, what's done is done. Is we're here, and I'm here for all of it. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end it. It's gone a lot longer than I intended to. But thank you for stopping by. If you guys consider liking this video and subscribing if this is the kind of content you want to hear. And if it's not, no big deal. I appreciate you coming by and just giving me a view. But thank you again. And I hope to get some more subscribers. But even if I stay at 50, I'll be grateful for that, because I'm grateful for every single one of you. And thank you for the time you've given me and your attention. And I'll see you next time. God bless you.